you look at the history of nonviolent movements, civil rights movement, Gandhi and whatnot. Like half the point is to bait the authorities into catastrophic overreaction. And incredibly unpopular acts of violence against innocent civilians. It's like, that's why they went marching on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, in Selma, whenever that was, the 60s or whatever. Yeah. And it was because to get the Sheriff Clark to come out there and beat the shit out of them and sick the dogs on them and get that all in front of the cameras. Yeah. That was the point. That's how you do it. Yeah.
I do think there was some complexity in the sense that like the Black Panthers and Malcolm X and like there is a kind of like success that the nonviolent movement had because it was coupled with a more assertive forces that weren't afraid to use weapons and to arm themselves. Right. I think that did play an interesting role together. Right. And also there's.
Well, I think you could, I don't know. I'm not sure if I buy that argument about, the 60s, but I think in the way that was supposed to work, like the African National Congress also had an armed wing, the Umkhonto we Sizwe. Nelson Mandela was actually a part of it. That's why he went to jail. But the point of doing that sort of thing is to organize in secret, to not do anything on social media, to do things that can then be disavowed by the point is I saw someone on Blue Sky saying this, the point of this is not to win a debate about whether violence or nonviolence.
That's right. Absolutely.
You are intentionally going to lose that argument. Frankly, another example is the anti-abortion movement, the people who assassinated, Dr. Tiller. The anti-abortion mainstream movements, they say, oh no, that's going too far, even if they didn't even believe it. Yeah. But by
the way, I want to say something else about the Black Panthers. The thing that they mostly did was feed kids and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of ignorance about a lot of these radical groups, who we forget were mostly doing mutual aid and taking care of people and had, lots of important contributions to what it means to actually have solidarity and take care of people. But in any case, that's not what French 75 is portrayed as being. And I think there is something interesting in the film. It has these nuns who are armed nuns, which is a kind of funny thing. It's really playing with the sacred and the profane and different identities and stereotypes and just it's playful about that. But I those nuns are not at all, I think, even though a lot of them were French 75 or were working with French 75, they're not portrayed in the same way as, Perfidia Beverly Hills. I don't think. I think they're seen as serious, devoted to the cause and disciplined and not the same as those who are showy and kind of screaming on top of the bank counter. I think those are different, there's even diversity within armed resistance, I guess is the point.
Yeah. I think it's not something I would say is necessarily always wrong. I think that the track record of nonviolence is a lot better, and you could see it working right now. But the one thing that I do not respect is people that are just stirring up shit online and using the occupation of an American city by fascist goons as an excuse to exercise.
Talk about how tough they are.
Yeah, posture and litigate some pre-existing personal beefs. This is also super common in revolutionary settings. They're always fighting with each other, but. It's you got, if it's going to succeed, you got to keep your eye on the ball, and really think about what you're doing and not just assume that because you're the loudest and most belligerent person, then you're the most left.
Right. The film does a great job of showing that the real heroes are often like the nurse that nobody will ever know helped Leo escape. The many parts of the network that do the work that doesn't get seen or appreciated. The thankless jobs, the actual just community service, the fact that Sensei, no one knows that he's not just a Sensei. It's not about the recognition. It's not about, in fact, because of the danger, a lot of it is necessarily going to be, behind the scenes kind of stuff. And I think the character of Willa. So I think if we shift to kind of Willa and what we get at the end, both in terms of the destiny of Lockjaw, which is probably important, and how there's this kind of next generational theme, maybe, right? That the Willa kind of embodies it. There's a kind of hopeful message at the end, even though the film's called One Battle After Another, and it's like almost a myth of Sisyphus type thing, right? Where there's constant struggle, this idea that like there's loss after loss after loss, but that's okay. I mean, it's almost like, in contrast to the performative nature of both the kind of perverse right-wingers and also, the cosplaying ICE guys, but also the French 75 at the beginning, you have a kind of virtue ethics of like, or what anarchists might call prefigurative politics, like act as if the world you already want, the world you want to have is already here in terms of who you are. And, a lot of leftists critique like Christian ethics, or maybe even, certain nonviolent movements that are associated with like Dr. King or whatever, as, pretending that the good world is already here and not understanding their enemy in that sense. But the virtues that Sensei and Willa have, for example, are the kind of virtues that can bring about change in a way that we haven't seen from the performative groups. But also, like, success and failure is a relative thing. We build off small victories, and the next generation can do better than the one before. Willa is this very disciplined character, but she also just wants to be a normal kid. Like, there's scenes where she's trying to have fun with her friends, or she's going to the dance, where she's like, joking about her dad in the car, where she's just trying to be normal and survive, and gets to her fight with her dad about, not getting, her non-binary friend, like, he still doesn't get how to refer to them. It's like, God, Dad, it's not that hard.
That's the end of the preview, folks. As usual, we like to mention that this podcast is sponsored by the American Prospect Magazine. So if you want to listen to the whole thing, you could subscribe at $5 a month if you want that, plus a free subscription to the website, plus the opportunity for a steeply discounted print subscription. You can do that if you so wish at $10 a month. And otherwise, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.